Before I start the build, I'd like to just describe the kit configuration that I got. So this is a Sport 200 chassis, and that's the same as the Cup 200 chassis. What you see here is that I've got the pedal box, I got that installed, as well as the floor pan. If we go to the other side of the pedal box, you'll see that the brake master cylinder and clutch master cylinder is there, and the brake lines have all been routed through the chassis. We'll go to the back, you'll see on the passenger side there's the floor pan as well, and then you'll see the last bit of the brake lines at the back here. So this is where I'm starting from. As step one, I've taken off the roll cage, which is just over there, and I've fitted the rear bulkhead. Took quite a bit of finagling, a little bit of file, and then just to make sure it's precise, most of the filing was around the welds. So you can see there was welds at the end of the tunnel, and I just had to make space for them. I then drilled holes and put Cleco pins in there just to fit it in. So the next step then is to just fit the side panels. And the idea there is that I want to pre-drill everything and have it ready so that when the car is nearly finished, I can just easily put on the panels. In the meantime, I've got great access to the tunnel and to the back suspension. Here I've got the second side panel on the center tunnel. It's fastened by Clecos. You can see where I've put all the rivets. And the back panel now will come off so that I can put the other panel on the other side and then mount the center tunnel cover on and get that all aligned. Now what I'm planning to do is not to rivet the center tunnel on, but unlike what MK suggests that we use metal screws, I think I'll put in riv nuts so I can just unscrew it without doing any damage to the threads if they were straight into metal. Okay, the tunnel and the back firewall is all finished. I've put riv nuts in there, and you can see this little black cap head screws there, which are great. So they're not screwed down at the moment because the panels have to go in, but this basically just shows you what it will look like mounted in the car. Now I do have a cover for the tunnel which I'll use, but I'd like to make sure that underneath looks good as well. Next thing I'm going to install is the differential. We're at the rear of the car now. You can see the two brackets here, 1, 2, and you can see that there are mounting bolts at the top and at the bottom of the bracket. So my plan of action is to lift the chassis up, put the differential underneath it, pack it up so that it is roughly the right height, and then lower it, chassis back down on it, and just move it across. Hopefully that's an easy way compared with lifting up a heavy differential. So here we have the diff on a box. The lift is above it. Now I'm going to lower the chassis on top of the diff. Well, that was difficult. The diff is actually quite heavy. I've got it on the box and I've got it propped up by these pieces of wood that I can use to lever the diff up and down. I've managed to get the two top bolts in, and at the bottom I've got some pins that are just holding it in. So now I'm going to try and put the bottom bolts in, and then I can tighten it up. Here we are under the car. As you can see, I've got the differential in. These are the pins I used in order to pivot the diff. The secret is to get the nose of the diff in the gap and then lower the chassis a little so you can get the pins in. Once you've got the bottom pins in, then you can lever the diff around and put the top bolts in, and then it's held in. So at the moment the bolts are in, they're just very loosely tightened. So what I'll do now, I'll torque them up because the diff doesn't have to come out anymore. The diff is very heavy, so you'll need some sort of aid to move the diff up and down. I don't have a transmission jack, and that'll be another way to do it, but you have to be able to move the diff in. I don't think it would go in from the top. I did it from the bottom and that seemed to work okay.